Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Kicking off a shortened week of Christmas trading, it is Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you here. And late on Friday, we got the news that the government was able to pass legislation to keep the federal government open with a bill passing the House, Senate, and heading on to Joe Biden in order to keep the government operating for the next 3 months. Here's what ended up happening on this. You ended up seeing the bill that passed. It did end up including the disaster relief and farm aid that was included in the original bill. It did not include either an extension or removal of the debt ceiling as incoming President Trump wanted. And so that unfortunately means that we're going to have to
cover this again in
talk
March.
About the debt ceiling again at some point because, man, there's nothing that I love doing more on this show than talking debt ceiling. It's just riveting, amazing stuff that we get to cover. And by and large, there were a couple small things that were stripped out of this bill and then ended up basically passing Congress in subsequent measures anyways, so it's kind of like, what did we really end up doing here for the most part? Like, it's not like there were some giant savings that was reaped as a result of the negotiations that went on.
No, what we did was put a Band-Aid on until March 14th, and then this will become an issue again. It's really a spot check where, I can go into the last time we went through a government shutdown, historical precedents.
It was 2018, right?
Yeah, 2018 for about 35 days. We now have a situation where the government's going to be running at a $2 trillion deficit, but nothing that was done here most recently addresses any of that. A lot of these things were mentioned as to the debt ceiling increase or suspending it, eliminating it. Nothing happened there. The ideas around potential cuts going to next year, it really comes back to what we talk about so frequently with the change in the White House. We're going to have to wait and see. This just resolves the here and now. We will have, of course, a Republican majority coming in next year at 219 to 215 in the GOP. So it'll be interesting to see what type of action occurs in terms of a policy perspective. I do wonder. It does seem like from everything you've read, the tax cut extension, that seems like full go ahead, because they did mention this piece, and that's one thing of interest to us because, we do the financial planning piece, that pragmatically it would make a whole lot of sense from a fiscal discipline standpoint to just say we're going to let it sunset. I know politically that's not going to likely happen, but that was something that did caught my eye on this piece.
No, I mean, I think the challenge in looking at potential legislation for next year is, look, for the better part of the last 30 years now, 25 years, the way that we have seen spending move in the U.S. as a percentage of GDP has been up. At the same time, the revenue side of the equation has largely stayed the same. And this is something that I come back to pretty often because I've looked at this a number of times. If you look at federal revenue as a percentage of GDP and, look at the long-term trends there, what we see is that for calendar year 2023, the federal government brought in about 16% of GDP in tax revenue. To put this in perspective, back in 1946, year after World War II ended, federal government brought in 17% of GDP in tax revenue. Here's the chart, Paul. Is it flat or is it flat?
Very flat.
It's flat. You basically go between 15 and 18% of GDP gets collected by the federal government in tax revenue in any year. Now, if you look at federal outlays as a percentage of GDP, the thing that you see there is that for pretty much call it 1953 through, 2008, you had a slight upward trend, but you were generally pretty flat. 1953, federal government spent 19% of GDP. By 2007, spent 18.8% of GDP. There were years in which it was, a little bit less, like 16.5. There were years where it was a little higher. In 1982, during the recession, it got up to 22. But for the most part, you were between like 18.5 and 20.5% of GDP. In the last, few years, 15 years now, you've moved to a point where the lowest deficit that we have had since the financial crisis was 19.89% of GDP in 2018, and everything else has been higher. So, federal revenue, for all of the talk about, tax cuts, tax hikes, this federal revenue has not budged in a meaningful fashion in 80 years. In 80 years. Yes, I know that the actual dollar values have gone up because, inflation and this and that, but by and large, the federal government has not changed what it's taken in as a percentage of GDP in 80 years. We change where it comes from. We've altered the tax brackets and tax rates, but ultimately the federal government says, no, this is what we need to bring in order to operate. The place that we have run into issues in the last 15 years is spending's gone up. And pretty meaningfully. I mean, you're running, 2 to 3% higher each year as a percentage of GDP, and that means instead of running 2 to 3% deficits, you're running 5 to 6% ones.
Right.
And that's probably pretty challenging and not sustainable in the long run. So when we look at the math for next year, and this is the piece that I'm trying to figure out, you got these tax cuts that you want to extend. But the current state of play is that, hey, if you just extend them and do nothing else, you're going to be running 5 to 6% deficits that are likely to expand to 7 to 8 as your entitlement programs have larger expenses and slower growth on inputs. So on revenues. So I'm trying to figure out how you get everything that you want out of next year. And I keep coming back to this, and I've said it over and over and over. I don't think this is Trump 1.0 in terms of, hey, press the tax cut button and everything goes and you're good. I think this is different for a couple reasons. The first being the setup's different. The other piece, you look through the nominees that we are seeing for different positions. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, Stephen Marin was nominated to be the head of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. Stephen's someone who I've followed on Twitter and various places for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Smart freaking dude. Smart dude. But also someone who has spent a lot of time the last several years talking about tariffs and making fair trade and things like that. And these are things that do come with costs. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying, hey, if we're trying to rectify these things, there's going to be some costs associated with them. So all this to me, when we look at this and what I pull out of this, the signing of this 3-month budget bill, which doesn't really mean anything because it's a 3-month budget bill. Not even a budget bill. It's a continuing resolution. I kind of get to, hey, we might need to be prepared for next year to go a little bit differently than the first year of Trump's first term. And I'm not saying that's bad in the long run. If you can address some of these long-standing problems, that's a good and worthwhile goal. But I don't think it's just going to be, let's cut taxes and call it a year.
Yeah, I mean, even extending existing taxes that's no benefit.
Doesn't help
there's not
you anyway.
more money in my pocket or your pocket. It's just the status quo. Yeah,
correct. So let's take a quick break here. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the pending merger between Honda and Nissan. Some more details coming out, some more news. We'll discuss that when we're back.
Wall Street Watch, a full update on the market's performance to date. Weekdays at 10:30 only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you're retired or nearing retirement and haven't done your planning yet, you could be missing out on opportunities that can save you thousands of dollars. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and they have a new guide out this month called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Early estate planning can have many benefits, especially if you want to protect the assets. But there's another big advantage. Doing your planning the right way might also help you eliminate your estate taxes. Learn how to keep your assets in your family and avoid probate. Get Cushing & Dolan's brand new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Call right now, 866-848-5699. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request your guide online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Your lifelong financial plan should always be top of mind, and as another new year approaches, now is the time to review some key numbers that may affect your strategy going forward. Our guide walks you through several important numbers that you'll need to be familiar with for 2025, especially from a tax standpoint. It's called Key Numbers for 2025, and in it, we'll explain marginal tax brackets for both married couples and single filers, as well as information about the standard deduction that'll be pivotal for your financial planning strategy. We'll also explore other areas like the federal estate tax and gifting limits. Call us right now at 800-393-4001 and ask for your free guide today. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partnership with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. This year's 5K was another tremendous success. Every dollar raised supports a wide variety of initiatives like the DAV Transportation Program, which takes disabled vets to important medical appointments that supply both the physical and mental care they need. If you'd like to help our great American heroes this holiday season, visit dav5k.boston and make a donation today. Thank you again for your support.
Paul, we got a text that Tucker forwarded on to us during the break, or maybe it was an email. I don't know where it came from.
Text,
there you go. And the text was asking about Social Security because there was a bill that was winding its way through Congress to potentially remove the windfall tax for certain people who, have public pensions that then end up seeing their Social Security reduced. I believe something did pass late Friday or maybe early Saturday.
Yeah, so what we had happen over the weekend, Chuck, is the Senate did pass what's called the Social Security Fairness Act in the favor of 76-20 on Saturday. It now heads to President Joe Biden's desk for signature. To step back for a moment, as Chuck alluded to, there are 2 provisions out there which is said to impact 2.4 million people out there. However, I seem like I've bumped into a lot of people who are impacted this, so I feel like the number should be higher relative to the population of the country. But it's the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. So to sort of understand what those 2 pieces are, the windfall elimination provision could be in a situation where you worked a public job for a municipality, but also worked a little bit in the private sector as well. If you were to collect a government pension, the earnings that you derive from the government pension would offset any of the Social Security benefits that you were entitled to, or I shouldn't say offset, but could greatly reduce those benefits. The other provision, the government pension offset, is specific to those who are public pension collectors and their impact as a surviving spouse collecting their spousal benefits or their widow benefits from their spouse who may have worked in the private sector. So those are really the two biggest areas that they've been trying to target this for about 40 years or so. Now it does appear that they would be eliminating both of these provisions. We don't have, exact hard and fast, when is this going to go into effect? When should I start collecting my higher benefits? All of this is to be determined, but certainly a really impactful bill for those people who are, subject to this.
And I want to also just go through something just that I think is sad. I have here a list of all Social Security legislation that has ever passed the United States Congress and been signed into law. These are the dates of when different bills were passed related to Social Security. The first one being the Social Security Act in 1935. From there, 1939, 1942, 2 in 1943, 2 in 1945, 46, 47, 2 in 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 61, 65, 66, 67, 69, 71, 72, 72, 73, 77, 3 in 1980, 2 in 1981, 2 in 1983, 1984, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 93, 94, another 94, 96, 99, 2000. Paul, it's been 24 years since any legislation has been passed at all relating to Social Security except for this. And what's remarkable about this is the way that we talk about Social Security these days is like it's this third rail, like, oh, like you never touch Social Security, or or you're going to get like thrown off a cliff or something like that, which is different from a third rail. That's like getting thrown off a cliff. Social Security, for the first 65 years of its operation, was routinely updated with small little changes every year or two. Now, these weren't big ones. Like, it wasn't like every year they were changing the retirement age and doing the... But there were constant adjustments to the program because we were figuring out, oh, this works, this doesn't work, we need to update this, we need to update that. The windfall elimination provision, by the way, do you know when it went into effect originally?
I want to say mid-'80s.
1983.
Yeah.
It's not like it was this original thing that existed. It was, no, we decided to do that, part of, trying to reform Social Security in the 1980s to make it more sustainable. This was one of the things that we did. It's now being repealed, and look, it is what it is. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or anything else. My point is, I think that we let Congress off the hook a little bit too easily on this stuff, even though we complain about it and this and that. Congress for 65 years would deal with issues related to Social Security on a regular basis. And now they just won't touch it because, it's too hard. The only time that they are touching it right now is, granted, it might end up being the right thing to do. I'm not saying it's not. But
to
it's
add $196 billion more in payments over the next 10 years.
Here's an extra $20 billion a year going out.
For something that's going to be projected to be insolvent in 9 years.
Correct. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying if this is all that we're going to do, we are not serious human beings.
You can't only deliver positive news, unfortunately.
No, it's... look, here's the deal. My 4-year-old, we talk about this a lot. Sometimes
the windfall tax.
we do. I tell her, sweetie, you got to watch out for the Social Security windfall elimination provision. It's going to be something you need to worry about as you get older. Look, my 4-year-old understands that you can't only have good things, and she'll tell me, "Hey, look, you get what you get, and you can't get upset about it." Like that's what it is. Like you just got to deal with it. Congress needs to talk to us like we're a bunch of 4-year-olds. Hey, this is the deal. You're going to get what you're going to get. And I'm not saying that I want to do like some drastic cut to Social Security. I don't want to do anything that makes anyone uncomfortable, but sometimes you have to because that's life.
And here's the thing. If you address it now, you're much better off than doing this 7 years from now.
We could have fixed this 20 years ago, and the fix 20 years ago would have been like, okay, you end up raising the retirement age by 6 months. You raise the Social Security tax by 0.25%. And you, I don't know, raise the, amount that you're taxing.
The income cap from 168.
Raise double the income cap or something like that.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be, no, you've got to raise the retirement age by 3 years. You've got to eliminate the income cap entirely. You might need to raise it becomes just so much harder. And look, none of us ever want to do the uncomfortable stuff. I get it. We all want to just be Tom Brady after the Super Bowl. But Tom Brady will tell you, man, there's a lot of days when I'm working in the summer when the kids are off goofing off and I'd love to be having fun, but I got to be working. We all got to be working. And so, like, we're doing ourselves a disservice if this is how we handle it. Is, hey, we had like 50 different Social Security bills in the first 65 years of the program, and one since then because we're just too afraid to touch it in Congress. I don't know if I might lose my little Congress seat. I might have to go back to work somewhere else, or maybe, I mean, come on, like, what are we doing here? That's the job you've chosen. If you don't want to have to deal with Social Security, go be a ski instructor. You'll never have to vote on Social Security legislation. You don't want to vote on Social Security legislation? Fine. Go be, the mayor of your town. Like, you can still be in politics without having to deal with that. But it's the job you've chosen, and it's just cowardly stuff. Sorry, I know that we did Festivus on Friday, but today's the official day of Festivus, so I just had to get that out there. Quick break. When we come back, it's Wall Street Watch and then Honda and Nissan.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bench you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Sometimes we know it's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, when it comes to 401ks and their contribution limits, 2025 is a little bit unique in that it is the first year of the super catch-up limit.
It is, yeah. So there's a brand new contribution excess amount that you can put into your retirement plan, but only for a very specific window. You must be between the ages of 60 and 63 to participate in this special super catch-up contribution, according to the Secure Act 2.0. And so there's a little bit extra that you might be able to put in if you fall into that age demographic.
So how much is the normal 401k max? How much is the regular catch-up? And then how much is the super catch-up?
Yeah, so for the normal 401k contribution limits, the most that you can put in 2025 is going to be $23,500. If you are over the age of 50, you can do an extra $7,500 into that 401k. And then finally, if you just happen to be in that narrow band, you can do an additional $3,750 catch-up contribution on top of everything else that we already went through.
Folks, our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025, and this is just one of the numbers that's included in it. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. That number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, with a shortened holiday trading week ahead, markets today are mostly quiet and in mixed territory. As a reminder, U.S. markets will be closed early tomorrow at 1 o'clock and closed completely on Wednesday for Christmas. Right now, the Dow is down by about 0.5% or 211 points. S&P 500 is down by about 0.25% or 13 points. And the NASDAQ is dipping into negative territory by 6 points. Russell 2000 selling off a little bit, actually down by 21 points, nearly 1%. 10-year Treasury yield up by 4 basis points at 4.56%, and crude oil is down by about 0.75%, just below $69 a barrel. Breaking news from Nordstrom this morning after the founding family of the company clinched a $4 billion deal to take the struggling department store chain private. The deal is expected to close in the first half of next year, subject to approval from regulators and 2/3 of Nordstrom shareholders, including debt. The company said the deal had an enterprise value of $6.25 billion. Nordstrom stock is down by 1%. More developments out of Honda and Nissan, where both companies agreed to pursue merger talks with the aim of combining in 2026, which would create the world's third largest automaker. Chuck and Paul will have more on that in a matter of moments. U.S. listed shares of Honda jumping by 12% on the news. Meanwhile, Xerox struck a $1.5 billion deal to buy printer maker Lexmark International. Xerox shares are up by over 3%. After dropping nearly 18% on Friday, shares in Novo Nordisk rebounding nearly 3% today. Wall Street was disappointed in the pharmaceutical giant's late-stage trial results for its experimental weight loss drug. Sticking with the health space, where shares of Eli Lilly up over 1%. After the FDA approved Zepbound, another obesity drug for some sleep apnea patients, and shares in Occidental Petroleum. SiriusXM and VeriSign continue to see gains today after Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway disclosed last week it had added to its stake in each company. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
So, as we discussed, I think it was Wednesday when this came to light originally last week, Honda and Nissan are planning now on merging in 2026. The rumors started popping up last week, but this now seems to be official confirmation from the companies. And really kind of three things driving this, in my opinion. The first, Nissan sales are in a free fall in the United States. They're down about 50% plus since their peak in, I think, 2017 or 2018. So that's number one. Number two, all car companies, not just Nissan, that operate in China are having their lunch eaten by Chinese upstarts in that market. And number three, in order to get to economies of scale to compete with the Toyotas and Volkswagens of the world that sell 10 million vehicles a year, if you're a company that's selling 3 million a year, you need to merge in order to be competitive there. So I think that's kind of what's pointing in this direction, what's gotten Nissan to this point, and they need to merge at this point in order to survive.
I'll add a fourth one there where it does seem like, reading some of the tea leaves here, that the Japanese government has exerted perhaps a little bit of influence on this proposed merger, not necessarily forcing hand, but perhaps suggesting that it makes sense that the two companies merge. It does seem like that Honda, while saying all the right things publicly, there are some mentions that perhaps this, from a merger perspective, the thing is that Honda may not be crazy about, just because they are so duplicative in nature. It's not as if, Chuck, these two companies merging together, there's a tremendous amount of synergies. They play in the same sort of space in terms of the vehicle models that they have. They both sell a lot of cars to the United States. So that is another part of this here, is that the 8% of the working population in China works in the automotive trade. It is a symbol of pride in Japan, its car-making prowess. So to see a company like Nissan struggling so tremendously as they have really since 2018, when their CEO was ousted.
Do you guys remember that whole saga?
So I just was relearning it today. Carlos Ghosn. I had looked up the pronunciation before the show. Carlos Ghosn had to fly out of the country in a private jet in a box.
Not fly out. He had to be flown out in literally in a cargo box that I think was built for carrying guitars. He was flown out in order to be smuggled out of the country because he was just being held because, having been, had a few years to look at this now, the story, I think what it ultimately ends up being is, Ghosn ran Renault, and Renault and Nissan had developed a partnership over those, previous 15, 20 years as a result of Ghosn's influence. And the sense I've gotten is that Ghosn really wanted to end up having Nissan merge with Renault. And look, whether there was malfeasance or not, I have no idea. It's kind of hard to tell at this point. But it's very apparent to me that there was a pretty big push, as you noted, like in Japan, that the automakers are somewhat revered as kind of the pinnacle of industry there. And I think there was a pretty big push in Japan to not have one of those companies, Nissan, end up under foreign control.
Right.
But yeah, man, that was a wild story.
Really, really is, looking back on it. So what do we have, today? This would potentially create the third largest auto manufacturer if these two companies were to merge in 2026, as talked about. It's perhaps mentioned that the government of Japan would subsidize some of the technology research that's going to go into these two firms, and that seems to be truly the underlying premise of this movie. They mentioned this idea of synergies and buying parts in bulk, but really it's the research and development projects that are ultimately going to dictate whether this is successful or not, if they're able to invest in autonomous vehicles and all the other spaces that Nissan has quite candidly fallen quite behind in over the last 5-6 years.
The autonomous vehicle one is one where I continue to look at it and just go, it's not going to happen for most of these guys.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I agree.
It's just not, and I'm trying to figure out if that's a problem or not. Because ultimately, I think where I end up getting to is, look, if you're a major automaker, you can pour billions of dollars into something that you have no skill at, no proficiency at, and ultimately aren't very good at, whether by buying a company or trying to develop it yourself. The only company that seems to really be getting somewhere is Google.
Waymo, yeah.
Because they're actually rolling out autonomous taxis. Even there, it's in 3 cities in limited, service areas. You can't just go and do it wherever.
And oh, by the way, they've been doing it for probably 15 years, the whole endeavor. This is not, just because we're talking about the taxis doesn't mean they haven't spent a decade and billions of dollars researching this.
I still remember, and I'm kind of embarrassed. If you went back and listened to like our 2017 or 2018 shows, it was probably me saying, "Oh yeah, like in 5 years, like we're no, like
everyone's been off on this."
I know, but I got Charlie Browned really hard, and so I granted am probably biased the other way now, where I'm like, no one's gonna do this is kind of my default position there. But the places where I do think that you need to be investing as an automaker, there's two that I think are actually worthwhile. The first is your drivetrains and figuring out how to build something that is not necessarily pure EV, but that is better from a mileage perspective, because I do think that's important to people at this point as far as, hey, gas prices are not going back down to, $1.50, $2 a gallon, at least for any extended period of time. The second one is automakers got to spend some money on their overall user experience in cars, because there's a lot of junk out there these days. And it's represented, in my opinion, in a couple different ways. The first is just too many touchscreens. I'm not someone who's
pretty dangerous, actually.
It is. I'm not someone
I do find that sometimes you're trying to flick through stuff. You're like,
yeah.
It's almost better if this would be a button because I'm driving right now.
I'm sorry, Chuck.
No, you're good.
My touchscreen, I have a 2017. It's like very much on the fritz right now. Like needs to reboot the radio every time I'm in the car now.
Totally. And I think I'm not someone who says you can't have any of them, but the reason why automakers are moving to touchscreens is not because they think we like them. It's because it's cheaper for them. They don't have to build all the dials and buttons. It's just one screen with, whatever you need. And then, okay, you do the wiring behind it and there's, less issue on that side. But for some stuff, hey, do you really want to be fiddling, looking down away from the road if you're trying to do X, Y, or Z? Because with a touchscreen, you have to, because you don't have that tactile feel. You can't just twist the knob and be like, oh, yeah, I feel the, AC going up this way or that way. And the other thing that I don't want is 48 different buttons on my steering wheel. I made a decision as a child to not be an F1 driver.
It is a lot on the steering wheel now, I think of it, yeah.
It's just, it's too many.
Cruise control, radio dial,
Bluetooth
settings.
There's too much on the steering wheel.
Call.
I don't need to be an F1 driver. I never really had a chance, but that's just let's simplify things a little bit from a user experience perspective, and I think people will enjoy your cars a lot more. The other one that honestly really just bothers me, stop giving me panoramic moonroofs. I don't need the whole roof to be glass.
Like, you're not looking at it, are you?
I'm looking straight ahead. What do I get out of the roof being glass? Like, oh, it's a brighter and lighter greenhouse for you when you're driving. If I want to go to a greenhouse, I'll go get some plants and, go to one.
They were trying to sell us the sunroof. I'm like, my wife and I have 3 kids. There's absolutely no way this is ever getting opened or used.
I do like a sunroof, but the massive one that Chuck's referring to, no, you don't need that.
You know what the sunroof gets used for? My daughter, when I'm dropping her off at preschool, she sticks her head out of it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I like a sunroof.
Which is nice. It's fine. She has a great time with it, but...
You're sitting in traffic, you're getting some sun, just kind of...
Oh, yeah, if it's right, yeah. You're getting a lot of sun this time of year when it barely gets above the hills. It's like,
I'm not kidding, I do.
I saw 3 minutes of sun after it came out from behind an oak tree at noon.
Well, not today. I'm talking, the summer. It's nice. I like a sunroof.
It's fine, but these giant double, they're like, oh, you got a front seat sunroof and a rear seat. Why does the rear seat need its own sunroof?
Yeah. For the kids.
Don't have any roof.
No
roof.
I believe they call that a convertible.
That's right.
But, this whole thing, the whole roof is glass. I don't need the whole roof to be glass. It's fine as metal and felt, or whatever they put up there. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's see. Should we do more car talk? After years of going big, American car buyers are downsizing.
We can hit that.
Yeah, let's touch on that. We'll stick with the cars right after this.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there are some high net worth clients that would like to reduce the size of their estate, but they don't want to give up access to their assets. Is there anything they can do?
There certainly is, folks. So this is a combination of things. One, you obviously want to do your basic estate planning first. Get your foundation in place, the basic revocable trust planning to help utilize whatever exemptions you don't use up through gifting. Now, when we talk about reducing the estate, we are talking about gifting. But as you said, they don't want to lose control. So there are these special trusts that are designed called spousal lifetime access trusts, where in essence, you use an LLC to keep control of the investments, manage the investments, and make distributions. And then the non-voting shares get put into these irrevocable trusts where you have each other's spouse has access to the assets. So there's a way of getting the assets into those irrevocable trusts, which are now growing outside of your estate tax-free, while at the same time working together to keep control and use what's in those trusts.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
I love those Jingle bells.
So, something interesting is happening, and what we're seeing in the auto market these days is that smaller, cheaper vehicles are seeing some pretty good sales growth, and that is the kind of thing that tends to happen when people see the sticker shock of, $1,000 monthly payment on other vehicles. They say, no, that's not for me anymore. And so smaller entry-level models such as the Honda Civic and Nissan Sentra are up 23% through November, according to Motor Intelligence. Meanwhile, pickup truck sales have actually slid 1.9% year over year, and midsize SUVs are down 2.3% as well. And I think this is the logical response to, hey, these vehicles are just too expensive, and people are looking for more value, and they're finding it in smaller vehicles.
Yeah, I thought this piece did a good job of breaking down the average prices for a small, mid-size, and large-size SUV. So a large SUV on average, $76,000, a small one, $29,000, and a mid-size SUV, $48K. Obviously, when you get up to those numbers from a pricing perspective, the participants in the market are going to look for alternative solutions. And as a result of that, even though the trend had been very much so that ditching the kind of hatchbacks, Ford Focuses, and smaller vehicles of the past, prior to the last couple of years of inflation, it does seem like there is being a bit of a return to some of these smaller vehicles just because, like you said, you can buy them for a whole heck of a lot cheaper and get them for a more reasonable monthly payment rather. It'll be interesting to see how long this persists for. Perhaps if we have, several years of mild inflation conditions, does it, revert back the other way? But is an interesting trend to note that the compact car sales have ticked up over the last year or so.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean Paradise is waiting for you, so head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Piece of the New York Times. Why is it so hard to make a robot chef? So, Tucker, you're a big cooking dude.
Sure.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so hard to make a robot chef?
Well, I don't know. It's just a lot of steps to cooking, right? And how are you going to teach a robot to do all that?
So the first thing is that, and this is going to sound weird, but the first issue is physics, in that if you're asking a robot to do basically anything other than like flip a burger or jiggle some fries in a deep fryer,
that's easy.
They don't have the dexterity to be able to actually do that. Try watching the video. One of the toughest things for robots to do as they're trying to program them to do like household chores is folding clothes. They just can't do it as fast as a human because it's folding clothes is actually a really complicated process to do well. It's not something that you can do.
It's an art.
Like slowly and methodically, because the way to do it right is to actually rely on gravity and move quickly. Like that's how it works. And robots, they can't sense like a three-dimensional soft object moving that way, which is why cooking is also hard, because not everything is just, hey, flip this burger this way and that. It's, you guys remember Salt Bay?
Of course.
Mm-hmm. You guys, what was the name of the restaurants that he had? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
But
way overpriced.
I've never been to one, but yeah, it looks ridiculous. Trying to get a robot to just, sprinkle some salt down its forearm.
That's easy.
The forearm part is, but even the sprinkling, you can't get a robot to sprinkle well.
Yeah.
There's an element of randomness to it. There's an element of like humanity to it. I know that sounds kind of weird, but ultimately where I land on this, the reason why you can't have robots running kitchens is just because it's too hard to program them to actually react to what's going on with the food that they're touching.
And the timing too. The timing of everything.
Yeah.
Like if one thing gets a step behind, like how is the robot going to catch up like a human would?
Can't.
Not to mention cross-contamination. Like I don't know how that is played out with robots.
Yeah, this episode was made in a robot facility that handles eggs. I don't know. Let's take a quick break. We got hour 2 coming up in a little bit.
you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much, and they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, the grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, one of the questions that we get asked quite often is, how much can I gift in any given year without having to file a tax return or pay any tax on it? What does that number look like for 2025?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of confusion about this, Chuck. I think there's a lot of folks who assume that when you give a gift or receive a gift, there's taxes due at the time. And that is almost never the case unless we are talking about tremendous dollar amounts.
Sure.
In 2025, the gift tax exclusion amount is going up to $19,000 from $18,000. That means that you can give up to $19,000 to any individual without having to file the special return of a gift.
What about if I am trying to make a gift in conjunction with a spouse? How does that work in terms of what we're able to do?
Yeah, I mean, you're able to double it immediately, right? So that $19,000 gets doubled. Keep in mind, too, that these are the gift tax limits per individual. And so you have seen people say, okay, I'm going to gift money to my son, my daughter-in-law, their 3 children, and in each of those cases, if you are married, that could be $38,000 per person without even have to file a tax return.
Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know in 2025, and it covers these numbers and a whole bunch more that can help you optimize your financial plan. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all 3 and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to 0. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to 0 due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bent you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Hour 2 of the Financial Exchange. It's Festivus Monday here, and stocks not really feeling like they're in a giving mood. So you've got the Dow off 241 points. The S&P's down 5. NASDAQ's up 53, but man, this is really a skewed market with most stocks selling off today. And a handful, your NVIDIAs, Broadcoms, Lilly, Meta, Tesla, they're up in a handful of other ones, but a lot of red on the board, quite honestly, when you're looking across. So not exactly a great day for most stocks today for whatever reason. You've got the 10-year U.S. Treasury. It is selling off another 3.6 basis points to 4.56%. We've got a couple Treasury auctions this week. Kind of strange with, again, the shortened week, but you do have a couple auctions, so not surprising that you get a little bit of upward pressure in yields here on this one. Oil is moving down 79 cents a barrel to 68.67 on West Texas Intermediate. AAA National Average for gas prices at 3.04 and 2/10, so doesn't look like we're getting under $3 a gallon by the end of this year. And we've got gold today down $19.30 an ounce to $26.25 and 80 cents. Every year at the end of the year, we get two things. The first are the predictions for what the S&P 500 is going to do next year, which can't stand. But then you get all of the pieces talking about, hey, here's all the stuff that happened this year that, explains how markets moved and some stuff that you might have forgotten about. What do you find notable in here as far as market-related stories that were really key drivers of this year, Paul?
If I have to sum up this year in terms of why it's been, such a momentous year for the stock market, it's performed so well, you probably have to start, if you were telling someone who's been living under a rock or doesn't follow this stuff, with NVIDIA at the forefront of, some of the stock market gains that we've seen this year, up 800% since the beginning of 2023, and at the forefront of all of the AI enthusiasm over the course of the last several years or so. Unlike some of these other stories that we will likely get into, where it is largely driven around speculation and, promises of future glory, NVIDIA, at least to its credit, while there may be some speculative trades behind it, showed up with revenue to back it up. They were doubling and tripling their sales over the course of this year, unlike Broadcom, who we covered last week, who traded up significantly with over $1 trillion valuation at one point, off of sort of the hope and potential that in 2026 or 2027 they would, carve out a significant portion of the AI market. So I think I'd have to start there with NVIDIA as my first piece to cover. I'll kick it back to you for the second one.
Yeah, I think that certainly is one. The other piece, though, that's, when we look at markets this year, the continued dominance of the S&P 500. And look, it's not going to last forever because nothing in the investing world does. But when you go through and look at some of the broad markets that are out there, emerging markets as a whole, up about 11% this year. India up about 10%. I've got Japan up about 5%. Europe up about 1.5%. Australia up 1%. Brazil down like 28%. S&P 500 is going to, again, barring some kind of, epic collapse over the last, 5 or 6 days, trading days of the year, probably notching 20% returns again, and with a chance to notch 25% returns. And look, it just has continued to be, over the last several years, the place where you're actually being rewarded for the equity risk that you're taking. Now, it won't be the case forever, because there's a key part of that sentence, which is, hey, you're being rewarded for the risk that you're taking. One does not always get rewarded for taking equity risk. That is the whole point of stocks. I say this so much that it's probably annoying. Volatility is a feature of equity markets, not a bug. You don't look at days like last Wednesday and go, oh, that's not supposed to happen. That is supposed to happen. You're supposed to lose 3% in a day occasionally. It might only be 1 or 2 times a year, but it's supposed to happen. It's part of the way that that you have working markets, is that you can lose money in them. If you can never lose money in anything, then you don't have a market. You've got a fake, a fraud.
Ponzi.
Maybe a Ponzi.
The other piece to further that is not only the S&P 500, Chuck, but really 7 names in the S&P 500, right? If you look at the equal weight performance of the S&P 500, so making so that every single 500 of the companies in there is equally weighted rather than the way it's constituted today, which is a market cap based index where this magnificent seven that we talk about so much on the show, Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla, account for now 30% of the index from a weighting perspective, and the index is up 26% year to date. The S&P 500, that equally weighted index, which spreads it out amongst all those companies, 13.5%. So, continuing to point to this idea that it's been 6 or 7 companies driving the bus the whole way through this year. And again, that will normalize too over time.
I also think that, in terms of this year, a story that we've touched on a little bit, the Fed got 2024 right.
Mm-hmm.
We've been really critical of the Fed for a couple of years now. 2022 and 23, I thought were not good years for the Fed. I think by and large they've gotten 2024 right, and give credit where credit's due. It is December 23rd right now. Inflation has not seen any meaningful rebound. It has, it has bottomed at a level that's higher than you'd like to see, closer to 3% than 2%, but you're not like creeping back up towards 4
hell of a
or
lot
anything.
better than the 8s or 9s that we were looking at before.
Unemployment remains very low by basically every historical standard out there, and so my view is, hey, the Fed needs some credit this year, and I think that's a major story that there's a soft landing here. How long it continues is anyone's guess, because nothing's ever permanent in the economy. Like, if we go into recession in like 2028, you can't be like, oh, well, the Fed, they didn't get their soft. It's been 6 years since they raised rates then. Like, what are we doing here? It's just not fair. But this year, I think a big story, Fed got it right, and we don't always say that.
Very true. It's in terms of those progress on those items, I don't think a lot of us would have predicted with full conviction that you'd get to those points on inflation and the unemployment. I guess less of a concern. It was really inflation heading into this year. And the point being, inflation is in a good spot at this moment, knock wood.
Anything else that you want to make sure we note as kind of major themes from this year?
I have to bring it up not because I'm someone who's well-versed in it or that I espouse to it, but there is a pocket, again, of speculation in this market, Chuck, for sure. It's very reminiscent of what we saw in 2020 and 2021, where I always kind of use this barometer now. If regular people, whether it's family members or clients, start asking me about Bitcoin again, it means that we're in at least a speculative period. To me, over the last couple of years, that's sort of how I've earmarked things. If they're turning to me and asking me for my thoughts, it does seem like we've reached at least a portion of the market where there's a lot of speculation out there. And whether you want to look at MicroStrategies or some of these levered ETFs out there does seem to be this reminiscent era of where we were in 21 with excess savings in this country and a lot of speculation in the markets.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we got a little bit of trivia coming, and then let's see. I don't want to do MicroStrategy. Got nothing interesting to say there. Let's talk China after this.
Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play the Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit DAV5K.Boston. That's DAV5K.Boston.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there have been major changes with the Massachusetts exemption amounts. What is the new exemption for the state? Does that mean that a married couple living in Massachusetts with $4 million in assets could eliminate their estate taxes?
So, yes, there has been some changes. Now we're almost a full year in, of course, heading into a second year into the change. The change is now $2 million. It used to be $1 million for estate tax exemption. Now it's up to $2 million. And yes, if you are married, but you actually do trust planning, you can shelter $4 million. But folks, that doesn't mean that's all you do. For folks with $3 million that want to eliminate taxes, we can do that. But we can also think about protecting assets from the cost of long-term care. It allows us to do both a little easier now with a higher estate tax exemption. So think about ways in which you can use the irrevocable trust to not only shelter and be able to reduce your estate tax by sheltering up to $2 million on the death of each spouse, but also starting that important 5-year waiting period running to protect those assets from the cost of long-term care.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You can call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, it's time for our final Christmas trivia question of the year. Here we go. Which U.S. state is home to the North Pole? Once again, which U.S. state is home to the North Pole? Be the 8th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, be the 8th correct response to text us at 617-362-1385 to get that Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Let's see. We got a piece here from the Bloomberg. It's titled, Biden Team to Probe Chinese Chips, Setting Up Trump for Tariffs. And what this is talking about is, I'll quote here just because it does a better job explaining it than I will. The White House announced on Monday it would initiate the inquiry into so-called foundational chips, also known as legacy or mature node semiconductors made in China. While not as advanced as the chips driving AI, the older technology is ubiquitous across a wide range of applications, including autos, airplanes, medical devices, and the telecom industry. So, as an example, I go out and I buy a router for my home, or I go out and I buy a microwave for my home, or I go out and I buy, a smart plug or something like that. Some of the semiconductors that are made in there are pretty basic. They don't need to do anything complicated. Like
don't need a Blackwell NVIDIA chip.
It's turning a light bulb on and off when my phone tells it to. And so ultimately, you're looking for the lowest cost supplier in those cases many times, and oftentimes that tends to be in China. So what the Biden administration is saying here is, look, we want to see if there's any risk associated with these more basic types of chips, not for them falling into the wrong hands, but I think this is much more looking at, hey, are there any security issues that are built into these from a construction perspective, things along these lines. And I guess my only point on this is, you've been president for 4 years. Why are you doing this on your way out the door? And I generally haven't been overly critical of the Biden administration on China because they've basically done the same things that I think Trump would have done in a lot of cases as far as, trying to restrict, more advanced chips and things along those lines. They haven't repealed any of the tariffs that Trump had put in. So I kind of grade them out as like, they're fine. Like, they haven't been awful. They haven't been great. They've been okay. But on this, I kind of look at it and I go, well, you're leaving office in, 28 days. But why are you doing this now? What's the deal here?
Yeah, I can't really discern whether or not this does pose a significant national security concern. Like, if we just look at how simplistic some of those chips are, but I don't know the scale of, the semiconductors that are in all the different devices out there. It's certainly, we can both agree, is a worthwhile endeavor to at least explore this idea. And then also you need to, if you find an issue, it's certainly a supply chain concern, everything that we learned from COVID, that you want to be able to diversify your supply chains from getting chips from other sources. So we'll see. It's not going to be, obviously, Biden's decision as to what to do with this. That will be on President Trump, 6 months plus from now to make a call one way or another.
Let's get to something that we do know a little bit more about and that we understand a little bit more than Chinese-made semiconductors. Netflix, specifically, they've got 2 NFL games that are going to be on Christmas. Now, Christmas Day for sports, there is one league and one league that matters for Christmas Day for the last 25 years. The NBA. They have owned Christmas Day for sports viewers. I think they have 5 games a year that they're doing on Christmas now. I think it's like a noon, 2:30, 5, 8 o'clock, and 11.
Yeah, it's either 4 or 5, one of the two.
They load the whole day up with games at this point, and it's huge. The NFL decided, hey, you know what?
We've been taking your lunch. Let's take it more.
We would like in on the Christmas party. And so you've got 2 games that the NFL has on Christmas this year, and they are both going to be on Netflix. First time ever that Netflix has had NFL games. So you got Kansas City, Pittsburgh at 1 p.m., and then Baltimore, Houston at 4:30. Both pretty good games. I mean, the Kansas City, Pittsburgh is fine. Like, it's not perfect, but it is what it is here. So I think the questions that are out there, number one, hey, who was the stupid fight that was a month ago?
Jake Paul, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, thanks. That was the stupid one, yeah. Like 28-year-old fights like 55-year-old retired guy, and they basically pretend to fight. That was a real worthwhile use of everyone's time. Made worse by the fact that Netflix had some buffering and streaming issues that made it hard to watch, actually. So I maintained at the time, I thought they were doing that just because, look, if you screw up a midnight fight between a has-been and a meh fighter, nothing really happens. It's like the people that are up at that time anyways watching that are kind of like, you know what you're going to get going into that. Your eyes wide open. You mess up a Christmas Day game between Kansas City and Pittsburgh, and you've got some problems here. So I think that was kind of a dry run to see how this would go, but there's a lot riding on this, not just for this game, but Netflix is making a move into adding more and more live content. They have WWE that they're picking up next year. I think, did they just sign, was it... yes, it was. Netflix has the rights to the 2027 and 2031 Women's World Cup now. They announced that last week.
That's a big deal, yeah.
So, again, they are moving into live sports because even they see the value in it. And so this is something that is going to be a cornerstone of the next 5 to 7 years for them, and they need to be able to prove, hey, we can do this, and ultimately, they will.
Yeah,
it might take
think so.
It might take them, a couple runs to figure it out. But I remember the first Amazon Thursday Night Football broadcast,
Garbage,
and we were like, oh, this isn't great, and now, okay, it's fine.
Yep.
Like it's just another broadcast. It's fine. Like I don't like having to go to Amazon to find it, but
that is frustrating.
Whatever.
That is frustrating.
So yeah, I think this is going to end up working just fine for Netflix. They are a smart company. They know what they're doing on this stuff.
I have high expectations. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. Honestly, as a viewer,
who's doing the commentary on those games?
I will look it up for you. But I know for like the pregame show and everything that they went all out.
They're going
hiring
with
everybody.
They're going with Beyonce on the second game halftime show, so that can't be cheap either to get her to perform.
Okay, here we go. So Chiefs Steelers is going to be Ian Eagle and Nate Burleson and J.J. Watt.
Yep, who we heard. We heard Ian Eagle call the Patriots and Bills
game
game
yesterday.
Very good.
Good announcer. Like does his stuff. Burleson. What does he do? I can't remember.
He does a pregame show
and he's
on
like
CBS.
on Good Morning.
Yeah.
He's on one of the morning shows too.
He's on the CBS morning show.
Yeah. Oh, this is kind of funny. So Ravens Texans play-by-play. Noah Eagle, who is Ian Eagle's son.
Yep.
Greg Olson, who I do think is best in the business at color. Jamie Erdahl, who she used to be at Nesson.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
And then Steve Weish, who is a national reporter at NFL Network. So they've got some good people there. And the pregame show, you got like a laundry list here. Kay Adams, Drew Brees, Robert Griffin III, Manti Te'o, Mina Kimes, Laura Rutledge, both McCourty brothers. Like they got some names there. So I think they're going to be just fine.
The NFL has really tried to saturate its product as much as possible around the holidays with games. It's going to be Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, I think. There's some crazy span.
You guys know what's coming in the next year or two.
Every day.
No, you're going to have New Year's Day games.
Oh.
They're going to take on bowl season.
Yeah.
Like they're absolutely going to.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of football to watch.
Here's the thing. Everyone's been predicting their demise for years.
Oh, my God.
I remember Mark Cuban a few years back being like, oh, it's going to get too saturated. No, like, they're fine. They're making plenty of money. Quick break here. Trivia answers next.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Early estate planning is crucial if you want to protect your assets and avoid massive tax consequences. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and their new free guide can help give you just that. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. If you have an existing estate plan but aren't sure about your potential liability, or you need a new plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Don't leave your assets to chance. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your guide online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, when it comes to 401ks and their contribution limits, 2025 is a little bit unique in that it is the first year of the super catch-up limit.
It is, yeah. So there's a brand new contribution excess amount that you can put into your retirement plan, but only for a very specific window. You must be between the ages of 60 and 63 to participate in this special super catch-up contribution, according to the Secure Act 2.0. And so there's a little bit extra that you might be able to put in if you fall into that age demographic.
So how much is the normal 401k max? How much is the regular catch-up? And then how much is the super catch-up?
Yeah, so for the normal 401k contribution limits, the most that you can put in 2025 is going to be $23,500. If you are over the age of 50, you can do an extra $7,500 into that 401k. And then finally, if you just happen to be in that narrow band, you can do an additional $3,750 catch-up contribution on top of everything else that we already went through.
Folks, our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025, and this is just one of the numbers that's included in it. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. That number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, trivia question today was, which U.S. state is home to the North Pole? That would be Alaska. North Pole, Alaska was incorporated in 1953 and is part of the Fairbanks metropolitan area. North Pole has a population of 2,300. There you go. Chris from Pocasset, Mass. is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Chris. We play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
You know what the weirdest thing about Alaska is?
The sun thing?
No, it's not that. You guys know what the capital of Alaska is, right?
Juneau.
Anchorage.
Juneau. The thing about Juneau, it's not connected to the rest of the state by any roads. So you got the capital of the state that you can't get to via road. It's not even connected to the contiguous United States to the rest of the United States by any roads. You can't get to Juneau, Alaska by driving from anywhere else in the U.S.
Watch me.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing about Juneau. The population of it, any idea how big it is?
No clue.
32,000 people. Anchorage, Alaska, 286,000 people. I mean, this is full-on Albany versus New York City.
Right.
That at least you can kind of understand, why it happened like that. This one's probably something similar. It's just we don't live close enough to know. But, Juneau, Alaska, no roads connecting it to the rest of the state. So, you basically have to come in by plane or boat. 13 anonymous media executives make predictions for the new year. What do we learn from this, Paul? What do they think is going to happen?
A lot of consolidation is pretty much the quickest cut and dry way to say it, where Comcast will acquire assets from Warner Brothers, Fox will acquire some of Warner Brothers Discovery assets. All the names of these companies, it's really hard to keep track of who has what and what that means from a media perspective, so I'm not even going to try and scrutinize, what shows or what products are part of these, but the long and short is, and this has been rumored around for a while, is that consolidation, right, in the media industry, consolidation as linear cable declines, there's going to be a lot of consolidation, whether that's streaming platforms or some of these media assets. That's definitely a big piece of it. There also were some predictions surrounding Jeff Bezos perhaps being bullied into selling the Washington Post. I don't really see that necessarily being the case, but
what's the biggest one that stands out to you guys? Because I have mine.
Out of the ones that are in here, you mean?
Yes, correct. Out of all these anonymous executives. What's the one that raised your eyebrows the most?
EA being bought by a big tech company?
Bingo.
So I'll go this way. I don't think a big tech company is going to buy EA.
And they list, Netflix, Alphabet, Apple.
Netflix isn't a tech company. Can we stop calling them that? What's the tech?
Video games is tech.
Video games might be, but Netflix isn't. Let me ask you this. Granted, none of us were alive in 1980, so this is kind of a hard question to answer. Did anyone in 1980 consider Cablevision a tech company? No, they were a cable company.
Cable company, yeah.
You weren't look at how No, they were a cable company. So why, because Netflix streams over the same cable just in a different way, are we whoa, Netflix is a tech company, man? Is it because they have the word net in their name? Is it because they have a website?
The algorithms, they've...
But even before that, they've been they've had this moniker as a tech company when they're not particularly techy. They don't make any tech. They just stream stuff back and forth, back and forth. Oh, you want WWE? Here's some WWE. You want to watch National Treasure 2? Here it is, Book of Secrets. I don't know. But yes, I think Netflix wants to get into video games. You know that because there already are some video games on Netflix's platform. I think that's interesting to me. The question that I have is, I'm not really plugged into the video game world the way that I used to be.
Yeah, I don't play them like I did.
Honestly, I haven't bought a console since maybe 2008, I think.
Yeah, I'm right in that same region.
I haven't bought
the 2 Xboxes ago or whatever.
I'll tell you the video games that I do play. I still have a working Nintendo 64.
Me too.
Super Nintendo.
I don't have that.
And original Nintendo.
I don't have that.
My original Nintendo, I fired it up the other day to play a little Duck Hunt and Bubble Bobble.
Oh, you got to bring that in.
So 1983 is when this thing was made. Maybe 1984. So it's somewhere 40 to 41 years old. Plays like it's the day it came out of the box. Hadn't even used it in a year. I was okay, let me fire this up, see if it works. No problem at all.
Wow.
Still great.
Wow.
Super Nintendo, same thing. I can still make Wayne Gretzky's head bleed in NHL 94.
Never had Super Nintendo.
Oh, it's fantastic. But yeah, I think here's what I was saying about the video game industry. The money required to make these games now, the big blockbuster ones, is so high. I don't know how you can continue to exist as a standalone and spend that much money, because the capital required, it's like shooting a movie these days. You're spending $500 million or more to make these games, and then your first week sales are $700 million on the blockbuster games.
So wouldn't that further the case that it would make sense that they're an acquisition target, and not to mention Activision was kind of the precedent for this being sold to Microsoft? I could understand perhaps scratching my head as to why Apple would want to grab them, but an acquisition target in general I could kind of get.
It's not so much the acquisition. I just don't think my thing was more like Netflix is not a tech company. Like and I don't know if Netflix has deep enough pockets, quite honestly. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but let me see what Netflix is sitting on from like a cash perspective. I kind of look at them and go, I don't know if that makes a ton of sense there, but I could totally see someone trying to buy up EA now, but I also wonder, like, what are the big games? Like, was there a Call of Duty game this year or anything?
Yeah, Black Ops 6, I think it was.
Oh, number 6, huh?
Yeah. I remember 1.
Right, exactly.
I mean, Disney and EA have had that relationship for a while, too, with the whole Star Wars thing, so that would make sense.
Right.
Incorporate that with Disney Plus or something.
Another prediction here, the sports streaming service Venue will never launch and Fox will license its sports content to ESPN streaming service. That one, I'd be really surprised if Fox would go to that level of licensing its sport content to ESPN streaming service. I don't really, I would say that one to me is a little bit more stunning in terms of a prediction here. That I just don't see them doing that to such a big competitor, but.
Folks, want to talk to you about the guide this month from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There's only 8 days to go until 2025, and the guide this month is titled The Key Numbers for 2025. What types of numbers? Tax bracket updates, Social Security cost of living adjustments, retirement account contribution limits, Medicare premiums. These are some of the numbers that are detailed in the Armstrong Guide, the key numbers for 2025. How do you request it? Call 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001. Doesn't cost you anything, and the guide is packed with useful information to help you make more informed financial choices in the new year. Again, the guide is titled The Key Numbers for 25. You can request it by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Paul, you buying any eggs lately?
I haven't, but I heard.
How much are they, Paul?
Costs are up.
Paul, what do you think a dozen eggs costs?
Let's see here. $3.65?
Oh.
Phew. In any case, you got egg prices moving up again. It's not because of anything other than bird flu and the culling of bird herds and flocks, whatever you call them, in order to try to stem this bird flu that's going around. So we saw this, I think it was 2 years ago as well, something similar with a bird flu at the end of 2022. This is what's going on here. It's probably not going to last very long as far as the rise in egg prices, but it makes things a little bit uncomfortable as you're heading into the new year, just because eggs are one of those low-cost staples that, hey, when they double at price, they do make people do a double take, and it obviously isn't something that you love to see, egg prices doubling in the last couple months here.
You guys eggnog fans?
No.
Yeah, I can have one glass of it, but that's about it.
Not for me.
I like it. What's the typical alcoholic drink? What do they mix it with?
Brandy.
Okay. I've never had that. Is it any good?
Paul, come on. Is it good?
Yes.
Of course it's good, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's something you got to have every Christmas. Come on. You never had that?
No.
Oh.
It's fine.
Highly recommend.
It's replacement level in my opinion. It's okay.
Can get dangerous.
But eggnog is so rich, like I can't see you pounding down like a bunch of glasses.
Well, you have to dilute it, Paul, in a mixer and with ice, and then it goes down nice. It's not like thick eggnog.
Again, it's not really in my my bag. It's not something I do a whole lot.
It's a classic. Come on.
Come
on.
It's fine. It's replacement level. It's okay. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll find out if I'm replacement level right after this.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Your lifelong financial plan should always be top of mind, and as another new year approaches, now is the time to review some key numbers that may affect your strategy going forward. Our guide walks you through several important numbers that you'll need to be familiar with for 2025, especially from a tax standpoint. It's called Key Numbers for 2025, and in it, we'll explain marginal tax brackets for both married couples and single filers, as well as information about the standard deduction that'll be pivotal for your financial planning strategy. We'll also explore other areas like the federal estate tax and gifting limits. Call us right now at 800-393-4001 and ask for your free guide today. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so...
All right, Paul, what do you got for me for Stack Roulette?
Running red lights, speeding, and aggressive driving. Can traffic cameras curb the notorious Massachusetts driver? What I'm talking about here is the idea of using cameras at different traffic areas to issue traffic violations rather than just a police officer citing you for running a red light or taking an illegal turn. Currently, 23 states use cameras for red light violations, and 22 states allow for them to catch speeders. But under Massachusetts' current state law, we cannot use this technology for traffic violations. And I have mixed feelings here. I'm sure from a safety perspective, it's probably the way to go. But
let me tell you this, Paul.
Do as a scofflaw every once in a while, think that, no whistle, no foul kind of thing.
Let me tell you this. You can take the driver out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the driver.
Take your cameras and shove them.
You know what's going to happen with these cameras? Nothing. You can't stop the Boston drivers. What are you talking about?
I'll be flipping that camera to the bed.
Yeah, it'll be double freedom rockets from us. Look, here's what's interesting. For all the crap that Massachusetts gets about, hey, it has some of the tightest laws on this, that, and whatever, 23 different states use cameras for red light violations.
Right.
You would think Massachusetts would be one of those first. Nope. And look, I don't know if these work or don't. Certainly, some of the data that's out there suggests, I forget which, where was it in here? It was something like it was a 37% reduction in something, but I don't know what, so that's kind of useless.
Let's see. New York City was the first in the country to adopt these enforcement cameras for red lights back in 94. Violations at intersections with cameras have declined by 73%.
73, I mixed it up.
T-bone crashes have dropped by 65%, and rear end crashes have declined as well by 49%.
Can I just, while we're on this topic, talk about my favorite accident that I've ever witnessed?
Okay.
What?
Okay. No,
people were severely harmed, and it brought me great joy.
No one was hurt, which is why I have great joy from this.
All right, thanks
for
clarifying.
I'm driving through Newton, Massachusetts, and I'm at a three-way intersection. Now, I'm the bottom of the T with the cross, coming above. And the light's green going the other way, so I'm stopped. I'm the first car there at the intersection. And the lights on the other side go red, and mine turns green, and I'm about to go, and all of a sudden I catch something out of the corner of my right eye. And I look at it, and I'm like, oh, there's someone trying to fly the light and run the light. So I give, a classic Massachusetts honk, maybe a second or three too long, but hey, dude, you just ran a red light and would have T-boned me if I had gone through when I was supposed to.
Yeah.
This guy looks at me, starts flicking me off, okay, without realizing that if he continues, there's another red light in front of him and just rams into the car right in front of him.
Oh, that's the best.
Not too fast. He was going maybe 15 miles an hour by the time he finally did it, so no one was hurt. I don't even know if the airbag deploys, but I was supposed to be turning that way. I just turned to the right and I'm like, okay, sorry, buddy. You deal with that. I'm going to go this way. And just left and went. Because I'm like, guy, what are you doing here?
Oh, that's tremendous. That's the ultimate victory.
It's karma.
Yeah, because never has it been paid off so quickly right in front of your face. I mean, we've all been in those situations where you're like, the person who just did that, I don't wish them harm, but I wish them a slight annoyance.
Which is exactly what that guy got.
Right.
Because it's just... So, circling back on all this stuff. Oh, here we go. Nationwide, studies have shown speed cameras can reduce roadway deaths and injuries by 20 to 37%. So, I'm trying to think of how we actually become better drivers. And for me, the single biggest thing, we got to stop texting.
Oh, sure. But that's been around for...
That's
been a concern for a while.
But we need to figure out a better way to do it because right now, you're driving home, whether it's on the highway or anywhere else, you look around and it's you're doing something, you're watching Shawshank Redemption, what's going on here? It's just not good. And the places that I see the most accidents now are in straightaways on the highway with no merging or anything, and it's just because someone thinks they can be doing 65 and they don't realize the traffic stopped ahead of them.
Right.
And they're just rear-ending someone on a straight stretch of highway.
I saw someone probably like just over a month ago on the highway where like everybody's coming to a complete standstill in terms of like, oh, here's another wave of traffic, great. But then this one guy just continues to roll going 10 miles an hour, crunch into the back of a car. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you watching? I don't get it.
Right. It can wait till you get home. So I think we still need to do something there. I am still a big proponent of if you really want to get rid of texting and driving.
Yeah, we know.
The penalty for doing so, the officer takes your phone, runs it over with their cruiser, and you will never text and drive again.
Wow, that's a severe punishment.
It's not that severe.
They'll just go get a new phone and do the same thing, though.
Probably not.
No, probably.
Hopefully all your stuff is backed up to the iCloud.
Phones aren't cheap, Tucker. Like, it's more expensive than any fine you'll pay, and you got the inconvenience of you can't just swap the SIM card out. Yeah, it's a whole process at that point. But that's just me. Yeah, we're done for the day.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I didn't know if we were doing a show tomorrow or not. But in any case,
tune in to find out.
Yeah. I hope everyone does have a great Christmas, great Hanukkah if you celebrate, and we'll be seeing you over the next week or so. Enjoy.